I don't really have a lot of screen real estate here, but I've been playing around with the Concordia calendar, the 103-day cycle, and this is a little script I made that actually proves mathematically the day that Jesus was crucified, which has never been done before. No, historians, the theologians, and what was the other one? Oh, astronomers, they all tried, and the best estimate was April 3rd, 33 AD. So, this calendar can actually, it's so precise that it can tell the alignments. And remember, we were talking about the prophecy and everything, so I was thinking, well, because of the calendars and everything, it's hard to get them aligned, right? So I was thinking, what if we try 33 AD? And I didn't really start with that number. I just went backwards, which is difficult to do because you got to do it with the Hebrew and the Julian. The Gregorian didn't exist yet. So, yeah, it took a lot, and I used ChatGPT to work backwards and everything. So, we finally came up with the script using the Julian. So it says, days in Concordia year is 103. That's the days in the cycle. Days in Julian year is average. Well, it says exactly, but it's average 365.25. So we're going to start the Julian year at 33, and then we're going to target the Julian year at 2030, which would be April 14th. So, you see how it's doing all this math. And I asked ChatGPT, is this accurate? Is this aligned? Is there any bias in this? By bias, I mean, are you trying to sway it weighted on either side? Are you coming up with some bias to make sure that it aligns perfectly? And based on what I'm seeing and based on what it said there was no such happening. I'm not really good at math, but looking at this, it says Julian days divided by 103, cycles times 103. Say, well, is there any bias in that? Because you're putting 103, you're putting yourself inside of there, so you're make it look like Concordia is being manipulated to a bias that fits that. But you could, the way you could disprove that is by saying, could it work with any number? Could it work with any prime number, or could it work with, any non-prime number? And the answer is no, because we're being misaligned. So, the question is, why couldn't you use any prime number? Could you use 105? Could you use 104? And the answer is no. I'm not going to get into that, but it does align with 107. 107 would align to April 30th. If you took April 14th, actually I'm getting ahead of myself, but we're gonna run this, and if it aligns, it's gonna say Concordia breeds perfectly to April 14th, 2030 from 33 AD. It says if difference in days is less than 1, then it reads perfectly, because there's going to be drift in the Julian calendar, right? So it's not going to be perfectly 1, it's be a decimal place, but it would be very, very small. But that's not the Concordia. That's Concordia showing the exact drift the Julian has on this day compared to 2030. Or it's going to say there's a slight drift detected. External calendars are drifting. So that means that would be greater than 1, so 2 or more. So we're going to run this script. I call it Christ's birth. I call it that because when Jesus died, Christ was resurrected, right? So I'm using Christ's birth as a That was when the Spirit of Christ came upon the earth, right? Not Jesus, but Christ himself, right? That would be the proof, right? That would be the spiritual coordinates. So Jesus is a religious figure, if you will, and Christ is a more spiritual figure. Makes sense? So that's why I say Christ's birth. Alright, so when we run this, it does all the math. You see it doing all the math. It's 197, 2030 minus 33 AD is 197 years. So, divided by 103, Concordia cycles would be Julian days divided by 103 would be this, and then it is doing the math. 781, and then we take that number, we multiply it by 103, 72, and then we take the Julian days and Concordia days, 729, 404, and we get the exact same number, so it's 0.00 days. And then Concordia breeds perfectly to April 14th, 2030 in the Julian calendar. However, keep in mind that's with a shift of the Gregorian, right? Why do I keep saying right? The Gregorian was shifted to 10 days. Concordia is also proving right now that, remember when I said, trying to cut my throat now, that theologians and all of them estimated April 3rd of 33 AD. Well, if we're looking at the Gregorian and we subtract the 11 days from this, because the Gregorian deleted, they say 10, but this proves that it was actually 11, because if you remove 11 days from April 14th, you get April 3rd, 33 AD. So this aligns to that. This proves mathematically that that is an exact number. That happened on that day, April 3rd, 33 AD. Now, with that said, let's say we change these numbers. Let's say it's biased and it could work with 103 for any year. Okay, let's say that. So we run this again. Wait, it's not doing it. Oh, I didn't save it. My bad, guys. Let me clear the screen. Why isn't this working? Wait. So it's... Is it lining? Hang on. Hang on, I'm confused. I am confused. Okay. Wasn't expecting that. Because we've done this so many times that it shouldn't align every time. Because I was doing this math in ChatGPT. I haven't done this, but I've done this in ChatGPT and it never comes out even. Wait a second. That's not right. What's it doing? I changed that. Oh, wait. This isn't the best code because it'd be better if it... I don't really want to do that. I'm going to see if it's... Just going to put a print statement here. Print. I guess it is biased. Because I did not check this. I did not run this. But what I do know, it's hard to tell. I mean, the math is here. Here's what I would say to that. Actually, I meant to mention this. When people say, "Well, couldn't you use another prime number?" Well, the problem is you couldn't use another prime number because you wouldn't have. For example, let's say you say 107. You take 107 and it aligns, I've done that math in ChatGPT, it aligns to 30 AD. So if you take that and you move it to April 14th, 2030, you run into a very big problem. Because, I don't know if I told you this or yet, maybe I did. Maybe it was in a video that I deleted because there was some sort of problem. I don't remember what it was. But if you look at the Chinese calendar, on April 14th, 2030, Chinese New Year is on April 14th, which is February 3rd for them. And between the days is 71 days. And the days between January 1st and February 3rd is 33 days. So what I call it is 33 lunar days, because that's in the background. And I call the 71 days solar days, because they're in between February 3rd and April 14th. So that's how you get 103 days. And you remove the 33 days and make it, actually I think it's 70 days. I don't remember exactly. But you remove the 30, you turn the 33 into 32 because on the 33rd day, it's where the sun and the moon collide. So you get an eclipse, right? They're the same day. And what you would do is then you would add your 70 days to that, and you get 71 days, so you get 103. And that's in the calendar, that's in Chinese calendar. 107 you can't do that with, because they don't add up. So that's why you can't use another prime number. That's why you have to use 103. That's where the 103 comes from. So I do see bias in this, but you guys understand what I'm saying. Right? But this thing is still true. It was started on 103, and that's how we created this. Right? I don't exactly know why it's doing it. Why is it doing that? Maybe it's the way this program is. Maybe it's biased for a reason. Maybe it has that bias for a reason. But again, it's mathematically correct. I mean, there's nothing wrong here. I mean, if you start at 103 and it aligned there, but I'd be honest with people, Most people would just end it right here and say, hey, look, it doesn't, it aligns for everything, so you're biased. But I'm showing you how this works. So, that's the math. What else can I say? I've been working a lot with the calendar. It works really well. It's very precise. I like it. I really like it. And I don't really care about calendars, but I like this. See, what else did I do? What else can we do? Well, I ended here, and I'll do a next video more stuff I want to talk about with Concordia and ChatGPT. So I see you guys in the next one. You can comment what you think about this in the comment section. And, you know, oh, another thing that I do like about this, I like that you can program with it. I like how you can build up on it and create stuff like this. And you can expand upon it and pretty much create your own calendar with it. You know, this Julian, Gregorian. I also have a Gregorian one. Let's run that. I'm going to go here and okay, this is another thing. I know I said I want to end the video, but we're going to do this quite quick. I'm going to see if it's the same. It could be different. It's this. Okay, so just ran that. Let's see. So, same thing. Let's see. No. Let's change the Gregorian year. Yeah, it's changing. 526. That says 529. Well, I will say this. I'll say something else. We got the math right. The calendar itself is stable. It's precise. I think this shows how precise it is. Because we're writing the Concordia into the Gregorian calendar and the Julian. And it's aligning. If I just said, just use Gregorian calendar, then, you know, you won't have any pairing to it. So I could see how that works. Because if I said, you just use Gregorian calendar, of course it's going to be the same day. Right? It could just be how the math works. You know, if we take, I don't know how you would necessarily do that. Alright. I would say that's more of a pairing between the two. Like I said, this is it gets pretty complex. But you can, like I said, you can program it in here and it will always align. So I see you guys in the next one. On the next video, we'll use ChatGPT to explain the rest of some of this. So see you in the next one.